Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. For those viewers online, if you have questions throughout the discussion, please send them in through YouTube and we will get to them and they will get asked. My name is Tyler Schuster and I am the student body president for 2019-2020, and I'm glad to welcome you all here today. I just wanted to let you know a little bit about SGA. We're the Student Government Association, and we work to advocate for students on campus. We do that a few ways: through getting to know the students, faculty, staff, and potentially writing legislation to create change on campus. And we just wanted to inform you about our organization, but with that, I'm going to turn it over to the 16th president of Tarleton State University, Dr. James Hurley.
We do have a very small audience here. We will admit to those folks online, we knew this would be, the 11 o'clock hour was really the only hour that we can make work scheduling. Just a reminder, we will have this same forum at 6 o'clock, and what Tyler and I wanted to do was provide opportunity for folks to text questions. I know that we have our campus in Waco and Midlothian. I know some students are watching because they were having class watch parties, if you will, today. So welcome, thanks for joining us. We simply wanted to share some information about where we're thinking about going as an institution, the direction, the vision, some strategic alignment with faculty, staff, and students. And so I want to start quickly for those who have not met my family. I'm assuming those online can see the PowerPoint as well. I'm getting the thumbs up. So this is my family. This is Carter on my right, your left. He is 13 years old. Of course, myself, Kendall, my wife. This is baby Brooklyn, who just turned 2 months old. My oldest son, Drew, who turned 16 on Monday. And baby Blakely, or now not baby Blakely, she's no longer our baby, but Blakely will be turning 2 soon. So that's the Hurley family. We're really, really excited to be here and to be part of your family. So a lot of students have asked me, why Tarleton? Why did you choose to come to Tarleton? More importantly, what do you think about Tarleton? What do you like about Tarleton thus far? And I've always started with the reason that I chose Tarleton, because I did not know people, right? And we barely knew place. It was really about the institutional mission. It was about being an institution of opportunity. And for, since John Tarleton helped establish this institution, and since our foundation, we have been a school that has provided opportunity for over 120 years. The intentional focus on student success and the academic reputation across Texas is phenomenal. And what we would like to do is enhance those opportunities, not only in the state of Texas, but across the country, so more people understand who we are, and raise our institutional brand. And we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. This institution has always had an outstanding reputation for faculty and staff dedicated to student success. And when you read all of the information, and I've often said, when you're in it, and all of you that have been in it, so to speak, and it being Tarleton, when you're inside the institution, you don't realize how special it is. You don't realize how special of an institution you have. And so the faculty and staff and their devotion to student success, equality, access, and diversity, that was really, really important to us. Some of the unique, we took some pics here, Kurt and others, and Kim put this together for me, but these are all the traditions that a lot of other institutions don't have, right? And so we'll just flip through and you can see some of these. I mean, like the purple poo. The purple poo, who else has a purple poo? Things like a Corps of Cadets, for example. We are one of the only non-senior military institution in the country, not just in the state of Texas, but in the country, that has such an organization and a corps on campus. And so we're really, really excited about that. The beautiful main campus here in Stephenville, it's vibrant, it's full of life. This is where the core of our enrollment resides. But the Fort Worth campus, the Waco campus, the Midlothian campuses, and now that I've been able to visit those campuses, there are unique traditions that take place at each of those institutions and each of our campuses, I should say. But I think it's really, really important that we talk about Tarleton being one institution. And I've often said since I've arrived, we have one vision, we have one mission, we have one voice, one institution, or one university, and that's Tarleton. And personally, Kendall and I felt that this was a great place in terms of raising our family. Stephenville is a wonderful, wonderful community. They've been loving, they've embraced us. And last but not least, but the potential for growth, and I think that growth is boundless. The ceiling here at Tarleton is phenomenal, and I think our institution is what I've defined as next level ready. And it's our impending bold and aspirational strategic planning that will take place. Where do we want to be 10 years from now? But more importantly, for everyone that takes place and takes part, I should say, in this strategic planning process, where do we want the institution to be 30, 40, 50 years after all of us are no longer part of it? I'd like to quickly talk about some presidential priorities. These are short term. As you can see, I'm on that listening and learning session tour now. I've had a lot of conversations with folks, not only here on campus, but at our extended campuses. Constituents that support our institution is really, really important. I want to hear from you, just like in Waco. I know we've had folks today, some classes that are watching in Waco. I was able to spend some time yesterday with you and with those students in Waco, and their needs and their desires and aspirations for our institution may be a little different than our folks that are based here, right? And Fort Worth will look different, and Midlothian will look different, but collectively we have to make sure that that's all aligned in our strategic plan. And the only way we can accomplish that is us as leaders listen and learn aspirational goals for everyone else. Campus immersion activities, I've been really, really involved and active in trying to learn people in place. Student interaction, I think that it's important. Dr. DeTavio was great and wonderful about connecting with students. And we felt like that was really, really, really important. Dr. D and I are very similar in that aspect, that we value the student experience on campus. Faculty and staff forums, we're starting to conduct those along with student forums like today. Stakeholder engagement, that's Kendall and I going out into the community, meeting with folks that actively are engaged with the institution, and then again, the community involvement. And again, please keep in mind, these are only my personal goals as the president. These are not indicative of how the cabinet and everyone else at the institution may feel. These are where I see things and only my perspective. Some of our long-term goals, obviously, when I took this position, that I clearly stated from day one that we wanted to raise our institutional profile. I don't think there's a president or a group of students across the country that want to go to an institution that is going in the opposite direction of growth, and they're not aspirational to be successful in everything they do. The strategic enrollment initiative is really important. Our enrollment has been flat for the last few years, and we want to certainly see that trend reverse, where we're significantly growing and enhancing the institution. A new strategic plan. Our strategic plan is coming to an end this year, and so we have to quickly, next year I should say, but this year we have to start planning to be in a position and launch ready, if you will, for next year. And so we're going to really start diving into what that strategic plan looks like through 2030. And that's aligned with our SACSCOC accreditation process, which will take place, our 10-year reaffirmation will take place next year. Academic programmatic review. Are we offering the degrees that students are desiring to pursue? Are we meeting market and workforce needs. Marketplace demand, workforce needs is really, really important, because now gainful employment is a huge component for almost every metrics in which we're measured, certainly student financial aid, et cetera. And then comprehensive capital campaign. Now, I'm going to be really, really busy over the next few months planning and organizing a comprehensive capital campaign, and that's fundraising. That is a strategic pathway for our institution and the leaders inside the institution to strategically raise funds to enhance our student experience, our faculty experience, our staff experience, and the overall vibrancy and solvency for the institution. And so those are the kind of the short-term and long-term goals. That's a very short bulleted list, and that will change and that will evolve as I continue this listening and learning tour. This is our new branding campaign, and I have seen this at all of our campuses. We see it here. This is the Texans know-how. And so Texans know-how is kind of that theme and that one unified voice that we will use as that will serve as our cornerstone, if you will, of all of our planning. It will serve as the cornerstone for our strategic planning, our comprehensive capital campaign, et cetera. And so I hope that you will help us spread our propaganda around Texans know-how, and we're going to have lots of themes around that. We already have themes. And so that is it. That's kind of where I see my next 30, 60, 90 days. I don't know that we have questions. If we do, I would certainly entertain and take any questions at this time. Does anyone have any questions? Tyler, do we have any online questions fired? We have a question. State your name so the folks, they may not be able to see you, but they can hear you.
My name is Walker Kirk. I'm a freshman this year. I know it's the parking on campus is a big issue.
Yeah.
For a lot of people.
Right.
And multi-level parking has been speculated.
Yeah.
What would a time frame on that?
Yeah, that's a good question, and thank you for asking that question. And so here's what I think I'm in day 21-ish, 22-ish, somewhere in there, maybe somewhere around 20 to 25. And I think a lot of you know that I'm a runner, right? So in the mornings I run campus, and I'm trying, part of the reason I like running campus is it goes back to people and place, right? I get to see strategic buildings, locations, and I actually run through the parking lots trying to figure out, all right, how many empty spaces am I seeing? I know our campus security have been conducting strategic studies to see how many slots during peak hours, non-peak hours. I will say this institution, we do not have a parking slot issue. We have enough slots. The problem is the distribution of those slots. That's the problem. The other problem that I see is we have a lot of prime real estate tied up in single surface lots, right? And so we have lots that are kind of central in the core of the campus, servicing, let's just call it 90 to 120 parking spots. Whereas if we move those on the periphery of campus, right, because in a master plan you would want all of your parking on the outside of campus as much as you could, and then central academic and living space, learning space in the core. And that's somewhat fragmented here. To say in a specific time frame, it would be really unfair for me to answer that because I'm still in the exploratory learning phase. I am a big fan, and everyone needs to know this, I am a big fan of what I call stacked parking, and that's what you call multi-level. Because I think then it allows us to redistribute some of the property for strategic living, learning, communities, right, or buildings or facilities, or green space, right? I would like to see more green space on campus if possible. And so the distribution of how that happens. Part of how we make this happen is funding, right? Because we can't use certain funds because of state regulation for parking. So those are things that both students, faculty, and staff would have to take on and incur. So we are looking at that issue. And I agree. I do think we have a distribution of parking. I do not think we have a sheer parking slot. Now, I also want to be honest, and I'm guilty of this too, right? I'm guilty of this. We all want to park inside of our homes or our dorms, kind of roll out of our seat into our bed, right, and roll back into our car and then drive to the classroom. And part of being on a bigger campus, that's really impossible. And I'm guilty of that. I'm not pointing fingers at students or faculty and staff because I'm equally as guilty. Society has this, we're in that can we fix it now society. I'm certainly guilty. And so we are looking strategically at how we can enhance the parking to free up some strategic space on campus. So please know that we're looking at it. This is my 4th institution that I've had the privilege of working at. And every institution that I've worked at, Kendall is here with me, she knows, she'll shake her head yes. Guess what the #1 issue on those campuses were? Parking, food, and dorms, right? And living space, residential halls. And it always starts with parking. So we are addressing it, we're thinking about it, we're focused on it. Do you have another question?
That's it, thank you.
Okay.
My name is Michelle Cooper, and my question is, how do you plan to incorporate the core values into your term as president? Because that's like a big thing for Charlton.
Yeah,
so.
no. And the core values were really, really, to me, they stood out when I came onto this campus. And those 6 core values need to always, in my opinion, and it's only my opinion because when we go through the strategic plan, it will truly be from the ground up and not top down, and it will be organic. I think those core values need to remain central to our strategic planning, right? And there could be an aspect where we even add core values because the institution continues to grow, right? It could be 6, it could be 7 or 8, or it could just be those 6. But I think that's where the people have to really think through is, are the 6 enough, right? Does it comprehensively cover every aspect of the institution? And so I'm a big believer in those 6 core values. I think they should be central to what we do. And I think we've spread those across campus strategically enough where they are central. They're centrally themed. So. Tyler, I see you holding up the phone, which means we probably got a question, a virtual question.
So we have some online questions, and the first one is, will you continue to visit outreach campuses regularly?
Yes, I will. I think that's really important. I love my time yesterday, and I would encourage I'm going to encourage other leaders to make sure that they're spending ample time, not just myself, but I had a great time. We had our first Pizza with the Prez event was actually in Waco. And I did not have an opportunity to interact with students at Midlothian because of the way their class schedule was structured. Their classes were already out when we arrived, roughly 3-ish. But I did have a wonderful time with the faculty, met with the new president of the college that we partner with there. And so it was a great day, and it energizes me because we're able to leave main campus, we're able to go to each of our extension campuses, and we're able to see that Tarleton spirit being carried on. And I learned something yesterday that I didn't know, like at Waco, for example, and I'm sure the other campuses, they have a fountain at MCC that allow our students during homecoming week to launch their ducks there. And they do that on Wednesday. So I'm going to try. I don't know that we can pull this off during homecoming week because of just the schedule itself. I would love to be there to help, to launch a duck with those students that are at the extension campuses. And they do a lot of that's just one example. But learning about their own little traditions that they have at each of the campuses that tie into this one Tarleton family, I think is really important. So yes, I promise that they did not see the last of me, unfortunately.
All right, the next question is, can you talk about Roll Texans?
Roll Texans, yeah, that's totally something that that I just like, and I've often talked about. We don't own Go Texans. I was asked that question once before in the SGA forum, and it doesn't mean that you have to follow it, right? I mean, so that's the beauty of a person, someone's account. I mean, you can say what you want to say. For me, I just think that it brings something unique and something different, and each president has to have something unique and different. We don't own the copyright to Go Texans, and I often said, well, let's use this for an example. When Kendall and I were on the bus traveling to Nacogdoches, I was asked by some of our alumni that graduated a few years ago, let's just say that, right? And so the median age on that bus was a little older than Kendall and I. And they were wondering why I was doing this, right? I was showing the Texan sign on just about every picture with students. And they could not understand where that came from, because when they were here, right, Daryl, it was this. When you were here, you only did this. And now we're doing this. And so at what point, pardon? And still today, some of you do this, and I do this, right? We still do it during Fight Song and Tarleton, and I get all that. But at some point, someone felt like that this would add a different dimension, right? It's just we add different things. So no one has to repeat it. I do want to say one thing that the institution, I've talked to a lot of students, we are in an exploratory phase, thinking about enhancing our profile via athletics, and that is moving from a Division II to a Division I institution. Obviously, our student athletes are really, really excited about it, our coaching staff, our athletic director. But more importantly, I've talked to a lot of students, and I mean several hundred students on main campus, and I spoke to some of the students yesterday in Waco, and they can vouch for me. They were equally as excited, and they're not even here on main campus to see a lot of the athletic events, but what they know is that it enhances their degree. And so as we think about raising our institutional profile and the institutions we associate ourselves with, and we want to create that separation from those institutions, one of the ways that we can do that is through our Division I affiliation. And it's not for the purpose of athletics, it's for the purpose of raising our academic profile. Because lots of evidence, and there was a strategic study that came out of the institution with the committee that was balanced with faculty and staff members over I think it started in 2017, and it kind of continued through last year. It was widely supported by all faculty and staff members that were able to participate in that process. And so we're going to reconvene a group, and that group will probably be a little larger than the last group, just so we can cover all constituents at the institution.
So another question is, can you talk a little bit about first-generation college students and how we value them at Tarleton?
Can you repeat that, Tyler? Did you say?
First-generation college students and how we value them here at Tarleton.
Yeah, and that goes back to my opening statement. I am a first-generation student. I was the first in my family. I was also, for many years, a poverty student. And so, for me, finding an institution and always serving an institution that is an opportunity school, those are the only institutions I ever want to be part of. And because in large part, those are the types of institutions that I was educated through. And so I think 46, 47% of our students, and be careful with that number because that number changes from year to year, and I think we're really close to that statistic this year, are first-generation learners here. And about the same number, Kelly, am I right on those numbers? And about the same numbers, 45-ish to 48%, are also Pell eligible here, which means we're an opportunity school. And that number's been kind of consistent from the data that I've seen over the many years. We've always hovered between 40 and 50% for being first gen a service institution, and also students that are Pell eligible, which means they're at or below the national defined poverty level. And so as long as I'm your president, we will always value and support those students to be successful, because it's really important to me. Without an institution like Tarleton, I would not be standing here today. Is that fair? Did that answer the question?
So a student asks us if you've ever heard that you look like politician Marco Rubio.
Should I tell them the story about the airport incident in D.C.? Kendall's like, my wife's here. I have, unfortunately, not unfortunately, just yes, unfortunately for him, I look like him, I guess. So I was in the Washington, D.C. airport a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I was flying, I can't remember if I was going to or fro, but I went into I remember I guess I was landing, because I got off the plane, went into the men's restroom, and I noticed a gentleman was standing there waiting, and when he was kind of standing there, and he looked at me, and you could tell something was going on. I went in the restroom, I came back, and he was standing there, and he said, I have something to say to you. And he was very loud, and you could tell he was probably not of the same party that Marco Rubio was. And I looked, and I just kept walking, because I did not know this gentleman. And he said, Senator Rubio, I have something to say to you. And he really was in my face, and I stopped, and I said, I am not Senator Marco Rubio, first of all. And there's seriously something wrong with you, and just kind of kept moving. But people have told me that before. I'm sure he doesn't appreciate that. Is that it? All right, well, any other questions? Tyler, thanks for all you do. Thanks for your service and leadership and commitment to SGA. And we also have one of these tonight. We do feel like tonight will be well attended because of class schedules, et cetera. But we wanted to offer 2 different times, especially for our virtual online viewers, and we appreciate all of you. We appreciate our extended campus partnerships, and we look forward to strengthening those. So, roll Texans and bleed purple.